Steve Storz is originally from Omaha, Nebraska, and was born March 16, 1950. As a youngster, Steve always was interested in high-performance machines, particularly hot rods in his teen years. Then his best friend in high school bought a Triumph 650 and he let Steve ride it. That's all it took to get Steve hooked. He immediately purchased his own motorcycle. As much as he loved riding his Triumph, Steve enjoyed tinkering with it even more. Soon he was working on his friends' bikes, and he got the idea that being a mechanic could lead to a career in motorcycling. In 1970, Steve moved to Southern California to attend Dale Martin's motorcycle mechanics school. He also started a part-time job as an apprentice mechanic at Triumph of Burbank for Jack Hately. After seeing his first dirt track race at Ascot, Steve knew he wanted to be involved in the sport. He volunteered to help Al Baker and Lloyd Houchins Friday nights at Ascot to begin learning the job of a race bike mechanic. Steve wasn't a volunteer for long, as his skills setting up racing machines were in high demand by West Coast racers. Steve would eventually build and tune race bikes for some great riders like Terry Dorsch, John Hately, Lloyd Houchins, Ted Booty, and Steve Moorhead. After working with privateers, Steve was hired as a factory mechanic for the Norton Triumph dirt track team in 1974 to 1975. Steve worked long hours trying to make the Nortons competitive and still reliable. Just when he finally began to make some progress, Norton shut the team down for financial reasons in the middle of the 1975 season. It was a big disappointment for all of the riders and mechanics. Next, Steve got a call from Dick O'Brien offering him a spot on the Harley-Davidson team. For a dirt track mechanic, it was the top of the pyramid in the mid-1970s. Steve said yes, grabbed his toolbox, and moved to Milwaukee. Steve had built his career making British twins go faster, but he soon came to love working on the Harley XR 750 for its dedicated design, made for the sole purpose of dirt track racing. 1977 was Steve's favorite season on the Harley-Davidson factory dirt track team, working with rider Ted Booty. Jay Springsteen was the dominant rider at the time, but Booty, riding the STORZ XR 750, was actually leading the championship points at mid-season. Their first national win together was the Harrington, Delaware half mile. Although they ultimately finished second to Springsteen in the championship, it was really something special to be in the hunt for the #1 plate week after week. Steve's career thrived at Harley-Davidson. They had the best riders, the best facilities, and the biggest budget. As a race mechanic, he was well paid and flown to all the races. He also enjoyed working with legendary tuners like Dick O'Brien, Carol Ressweber, Babe DeMay, Bill Werner, Clyde Denzer, Brent Thompson, and Ronnie Alexander. As much as Steve loved being a factory wrench, he had had enough of the Milwaukee winters at the end of the 1979 season, and he returned to Southern California and started his own business. He began building XR 750 race engines and doing bike preparation for privateer racers. As it happened, there was a real need for this, and there were lots of privateers who wanted help, and because Steve was a former factory mechanic, his engines and bikes were an immediate success. This was the birth of STORZ Performance. STORZ Performance has evolved over the decades into the place to go for performance parts and suspension. STORZ Performance is also known for their dirt track style street tracker conversion kits for Evo Sportsters. Steve built the company's first show bike in 1990 and took it to the Cincinnati trade show, where it was a hit. At that time, most people weren't thinking about Sportsters as performance street bikes, so it stirred a lot of interest in the business. Steve also fostered an association with Enrico Siriani in Italy and the wonderful forks he produced. It was a perfect partnership because Steve knew what the American racing and street markets needed, and Siriani had the technical expertise to design and produce the forks and steering dampers for STORZ applications. STORZ Performance continues to manufacture STORZ Siriani inverted forks for Harleys in the United States of America to this day. Today, Steve considers himself very fortunate to have worked exclusively in the motorcycle industry for the past 45 years. As the saying goes, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. It has certainly been true for Steve Storz. He has a wonderful wife, Joni, and two terrific sons, Neil and Eric. As for Steve, he can still be found doing what he loves most, coaxing more power out of the new and old motorcycles at STORZ Performance in Ventura, California.
Being inducted to the Trailblazers Hall of Fame is a really, really big deal to me. I'm in awe of the people who are in that Hall of Fame already, and of course the people I'm being inducted with is, to be mentioned in the same sentence as those guys is just fantastic. Just couldn't be better. Thank you, Jody, for getting me to go. It's been a fantastic way to reconnect with people that I haven't seen for years, and it's just a super cool bunch of people.
The Trailblazers proudly welcomes Steve Storz to the 2016 Hall of Fame.